On 7th of April 2022, the Tata Group officially launched the Tata Neu Super App. And surprisingly, even before the app was launched, it had been making headlines every week. This market has become so lucrative that three of India's biggest industrial giants, Reliance, Adani Group and Tata, are set to compete for taking over this trillion-dollar market in India.
नहीं मैं ये नहीं मानता हूँ मैं आपको सीरियसली लेता नहीं.
So in this video, we'll learn all about this Tata Neu Super App and what makes it so special about this super app model that these giants are putting in billions of rupees. And in the end, we'll discuss the top 3 lessons that we can take from this super app model. So let's get started.
Tata Neu is a new Desi super app. Tata Neu app has been launched, not just another app.
And what have we launched and where we are going with Tata Neu app.
So the story of super apps began in 2009 China. This was the time when China was establishing what was called the Great Firewall.
The list of foreign websites that are blocked in China is long and growing.
The site had become yet another casualty of the Great Firewall of China. Facebook had been censored.
As censors maintain a tight grip of what can and cannot be published online to eliminate anything seen as a threat to the ruling Communist Party.
Both Facebook and Twitter, meanwhile, were blocked as rioting broke out in Xinjiang, a province in the far west of China, last summer.
China has become a massive internet market since Google left, and many local rivals capitalized its departure.
Some analysts also believe that the blocking of foreign sites is done to give domestic competitors an edge.
During this time, the Chinese government blocked several American websites like Google, Facebook, Twitter, and a lot more. They did it because they felt threatened about how much power these private organizations can practice over the people of China by having their data. The government of China started nitpicking just to ban them one by one. For example, Google was banned due to sponsorship on search results, whereas Facebook was banned for facilitating the communication between protesters during a deadly riot in Western China. And as you can imagine, one fine day in China, there was no Google and no Facebook. And then 3 things happened as a result of this. Number 1. By the time this ban happened, the Chinese people had already been used to this digital ecosystem. At that time, China was already producing a very high number of smartphones. And then because of it, the Chinese people had already been habituated to these American websites. Number 2, since these American websites were banned, there was a big void in the market. And because of this, the Chinese market desperately needed replacement for Facebook, Google, Twitter, and the other sites that were banned. And the last one is that although the Chinese needed replacement for these websites, the phone market of China was still in its baby stages. So most of the phones at that time didn't have a lot of storage, and this is what prompted the Chinese companies to set up and build the services for Chinese people. But at the same time, they had to keep in mind the storage constraint that was the issue. So they had to club multiple services in one single app. And this is where the concept of super apps was born. The first company to develop this was called Tencent, and the app they launched was called WeChat. The concept of super apps was very strategic in the case of WeChat. So now let's see how normal apps become super apps with example of WeChat. The first phase of this process is to build a scalable app with one main function. In the case of WeChat, it was messaging. WeChat provided free calls, free messaging, and free video calling features. Just like WhatsApp, they provided complete messenger service. Then soon enough in phase 2, WeChat introduced a feed like Facebook, and it evolved into a social media app just like Facebook. This way they could collect massive amounts of data about consumer preferences, and they can also show ads. And once this feature was established, WeChat, just like WhatsApp, introduced payments feature. This was a game changer for Chinese market. This way, WeChat could provide seamless experience to its users and also act like an e-commerce website at the same time. Because WeChat can now act like an advertiser just like Facebook, and also like a payments processor because of its new payment feature. Which means what? The user can see an ad of a product and then pay for it using the exact same app. This reduction in friction of doing payments was a game changer. And then not so surprisingly, WeChat's revenue skyrocketed. And this tidy evolution of WeChat from a messenger to kind of a small operating system within itself with payments features, social media, messaging, and e-commerce made WeChat an integral part of Chinese lifestyle. And now the question is that, is it too obvious for these super apps to become a hit in India also? Well, not really. There is a huge difference between Chinese digital ecosystem and Indian digital ecosystem. The Chinese people have proven to prefer a generic product, while Indian people have always proven to prefer specialized products. There has been a super app in India also. Can you guess the name? It's Paytm. If you remember, Paytm integrated Paytm Mall to it, and it resulted into a horrendous disaster for Paytm. So if the stats indicate failure, then why are Tatas and the Ambanis are so keen to enter this market? Well, that is because they don't have to start from scratch. Yes, they're not creating a super app from scratch. Instead, they are bringing all the market leaders under one roof to create an ecosystem of offering. And this is where their acquisition strategies come into play. In the case of Tata Neu's super app, the Tata already has a dozen of companies in different industries, like hospitality, fashion, jewelry, and airlines. And apart from these, they have Big Basket, in which Tata Digital bought 64% of the stake of that company last year. And then we have Chroma, an entertainment service like Tata Play, the Tata Click app, IHCL and the Tata Hotels. And then we have Starbucks, which is a joint venture with Tatas in India. And now, apart from these features, what is so special in Tata Neu that people will start using it and not dump it like Paytm Mall? Well, in the case of Tata Neu, the catch over here is that they are providing something called Neu Coins. And one Neu Coin is equal to 1 rupees. So now let's take a look at the simplified version of this model. Suppose you have bought some jewelry from Tanishq, and as a reward you have 1000 Neu Coins in your wallet. And then suppose you have also bought some groceries from Big Basket, and you have got 1000 Neu Coins as reward or cashback. And now suppose I go to Chroma to buy a smartphone of worth 10,000 rupees. So now what will happen here is that Tata Neu will bring in all the cashbacks and rewards I have got across their services. Like in our example, I have got 1000 Neu Coins from Tanishq and 1000 Neu Coins from Big Basket. So what will happen is that Tata Neu will club both of these together and give me a net discount of 2000 rupees on my new smartphone from Chroma. So now you might have understood the power of this app. Now you are not the prisoner of a single service itself, but you have become free from this Tata Neu app. The concept of this app is very fascinating. And will it be a success or failure? Only time will tell. So now let's discuss the top 3 business lessons that we can take from this video. Number 1. You see people from the example of WeChat, we can understand how integrating payments service to an app may result as such a game changer. Number 2. Converting a normal app into a super app should be very strategic. Like if we take the example of Paytm, Paytm bloated its user interface with all kinds of things, which resulted into its failure. And number 3, it is all about trust of people. WeChat wouldn't be so successful today if Chinese people hadn't trusted it. And in the case of Tatas, the trust of Indian people over Tata is a lot. So it is kind of interesting to see how Tata Neu might kind of work out. And I have a fun fact for you. Except in China, no country in this world has ever built a super app that has been so successful like WeChat or Alipay. So seeing Tata Neu super app being successful will give an immense sense of pride to Indians. So this was it for this video. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked it. So like this video if you found it helpful, and subscribe to our channel if you like to see more content like this. So now I'll see you in the next one.